Wow, okay, so this one's an interesting one. The power of Nintendo Switch 2 has been, I don't know if necessarily questioned, but I'm gonna be honest, there's been a lot of misinformation that's going on around the Nintendo Switch 2 power and how it can do 4K and how like Cyberpunk, the footage that came out today, like people are saying it runs better than the PlayStation 5, stuff like that. There's a lot of crazy information, and in today's video, I want to go over the truth behind the matter, the good, the bad, all that good stuff. But before we jump into that, you guys already know what I'm going to ask for. We are less than 200 away from getting to our 18,000 subscriber goal. We're also about to be a week away from leaving for New York City, so we are running out of time to hit the goal. I think we can still pull it off, but if you guys are not subscribed yet, I would greatly appreciate it, as we are super duper close, and that would just be such a cool number to hit, because our original goal for this trip was to hit 16,000. What of a statement that would be if we can go into New York City with 18,000. Greatly appreciate all the support y'all been giving towards the channel. Without further ado, let's jump right into it. Another thing I want to quickly say is we have been doing Nintendo Switch 2 videos every single day. It feels like it was honestly just last week when I started doing this. We have been constantly on the go since our 24-hour live stream of the Nintendo Switch 2 presentation. And it's made me realize how fast it has gone waiting for this system. I don't know how many of you guys actively watch these videos every day, but it does not feel like it has been over a month of me doing this. We started this April 1st, and here we are 18 days away, or actually no, 17 days away from the Nintendo Switch 2 coming out. And it's mind-blowing. It's crazy how time works, and I just wanted people to realize that, in case someone like you have been watching these videos every single day as we've been putting it out, and realize just how fast time has gone by. Absolutely crazy, but for real, let's jump into the news this time. Okay, let's talk about the big one that everyone is talking about. Cyberpunk 2077. CD Projekt Red has actually, for whatever reason, dropped over 40 minutes of footage of Cyberpunk running on the Nintendo Switch 2. Now, this has had people kind of speculate the power of the Switch 2, because the 4K has been questioned regarding the Nintendo Switch 2. But if you guys take the opportunity to look at that footage, the game looks absolutely incredible. It is running absolutely fantastic, especially if you compare it to something like the Steam Deck. The Steam Deck has really had troubles running that game. Pretty much any platform other than like a gaming desktop has struggled to run Cyberpunk because of how, I guess, advanced would be the word we would use here. But it's a quite unique game when it comes to tech, and seeing how it's running on the Switch 2 has been absolutely phenomenal. So if you have the time, I would definitely take a look at the footage. People have been posting it on YouTube, but CD Projekt Red actually posted it on their website where you can download it to where you don't have to worry about the YouTube scaling where it like lowers the quality. You'll see the true quality of the video. But because of this, people have been saying that, whoa, the Nintendo Switch 2 is doing true 4K. And it does 4K, but not in the way that you are thinking. In fact, I think a lot of people are kind of misspreading this out to be like it is the best thing of all time. It's still good what the Switch 2 is doing, but it's not what everyone's thinking. People are thinking that this is true 4K, comparing it to like the PlayStation 5. There's even people tweeting out images of, whoa, look at the images of Cyberpunk running on the Switch 2 compared to the PlayStation 5. But there is a clear difference between these two. The Nintendo Switch 2 version of Cyberpunk is using upscaled 4K. So it's not true 4K, but to be completely honest with you guys, a majority of the consoles out there don't even have true 4K either. On top of that, the Nintendo Switch 2 version of Cyberpunk is using DLSS, which is helping the resolution be higher and look crispier. But again, it is upscaled. It's still, I wouldn't say it's true 4K, but it is 4K, but not in the sense that everyone has been hyping up online. And so when people are out here saying that, wow, this game's looking better than the Nintendo Switch 2, or like the Switch 2 version's looking better than like the PS5, Xbox versions, you got to consider the upscaling, the DLSS. There's a lot of factors into here, and it's not exactly what you're thinking. However, the game still looks absolutely phenomenal. I feel like if you look at the footage that CD Projekt Red posted, really the only time that you can see that you're playing on the Nintendo Switch 2, in my honest opinion, is if you compare the hair. If you look at the hair of all these characters, that's honestly to me been the only way I could find out a game was running on the Switch 2. If you look at like the Final Fantasy VII footage or something like Hogwarts Legacy, I feel like the only way that you can point out that these games are the Switch 2 versions of the game is when you look at the character's hair. The textures are not the same and noticeably different from other consoles. And at this point, I think that's going to be the only issue you will see with third-party games is the textures of hair, which honestly, not that bad considering the issues that the Switch 1 had with its third-party games. At the end of the day, I think what they showed was great, but I think people need to get into their mind that it's not true 4K and that we shouldn't go around. But we also need to accept that a lot of these consoles don't have true 4K. In fact, I remember when the PlayStation 5 was hyping up that they had 8K compatibility, and that was not a thing at all. In fact, I think they got sued and they were supposed to remove the 8K off of the PlayStation 5 box. But at the end of the day, still exciting news. I think this game is looking absolutely incredible. Still a day one purchase for me. And I'm sure for many of you guys in the comments, your guys are picking it up. I know a lot of you are picking it up just due to the fact of it's a fully game on the game cartridge. It's not a game key card like everything else has been. So it's an important release for a lot of people, but to me, it's just a purchase that I'm really excited to make because I love Cyberpunk 2077. I was a original fan of this game since it came out, not some of these fake fans that came from the Netflix show. I've always loved this game and I'm excited to replay it, especially with all of the new updates that have happened to this game, especially the DLC. This is definitely one of my most anticipated games for the Switch 2. On top of that, there's been some new Yakuza footage that dropped for the Switch 2, and once again, people are making the comparisons of the PlayStation 5 version. Even some saying that it looks better than the PS5 version, which if I'm being honest, if we looked at these images that this tweet is saying, they look exactly the same thing to me, if I'm being honest. I don't see how the Switch 2 looks miles better. I feel like you could have easily said that the PS5 version is the Switch 2 version, the PS5 version is the Switch 2. That's like how similar they look. I think some of y'all are just gassing this up for no reason, or I don't know if this is like bait, where this person knows what they're doing. But yeah, the Yakuza footage has been great. They have been announcing a lot of the English voice acting for that game. I saw they had like David Hayter coming to the series, which is kind of crazy. But they've been doing a lot of that over the last few weeks. So definitely something y'all should be checking out. I think Sega has been uploading stuff regarding this game every week with its voice casting, gameplay, all that good stuff. And I figured it was a good time to mention it since we're talking about power, comparisons to other versions, 4K upscaling, and all that good stuff. That's another game that I'm looking forward to picking up on launch day of the Nintendo Switch 2. Speaking of the Nintendo Switch 2, it has been found out what the file size is for a majority of all the games that are coming out on launch day for the system. Now, I'm not going to go every single one of them, but you're going to see it on the screen of what games is taking the amount of storage. I feel like a few interesting ones to point out is the fact that Split Fiction is the game that's taking the most storage off your Nintendo Switch 2. I think it was like 77 gigabytes, somewhere around that. I'm curious if that's a reason as to why that the physical, or the quote-unquote physical copy of Split Fiction is not a game key card, if it has something to do with that it's higher than a 64 gigabyte game. I don't know. I have so many questions regarding that because I'm still confused why EA is doing Madden as a game key card but not Split Fiction. I just also thought it was interesting that that game takes the most storage out of all these things compared to something like Cyberpunk that has the whole game and DLC on the cartridge. But once again, this is one of those things that I'm telling you guys, do not invest your money into the 256 gigabyte SD card that they're selling for this system, because as you can see with the amount of storage that these games are taking, your storage card is going to run out very fast, and you should honestly look to get the 1 terabyte. I know it's super expensive. Like, it pains me that I'm gonna have to put in $200 for an SD card. I mean, that's how I look at it. It's a SD card. Why would I want to spend that much money on an SD card? But I also need to realize that if I don't do that, I am gonna have to get rid of games all the time on the Switch 2 storage. And even with the 1 terabyte, that storage is gonna go by quick with how much these games are taken storage-wise. So definitely be looking at that. Nintendo has revealed when capturing video off the Nintendo Switch 2 through the system itself, through the capture button, is that it is going to only take 30 seconds of the footage. That's the same amount of footage that was taken with the Switch 1. I personally was hoping they were going to update this a little bit, maybe make it up to 1 minute, because I don't know about you guys, I have run into problems where I had really good moments and it still didn't capture all of it, or there was a few seconds behind due to how they do the whole thing. I feel like they should have updated this to at least a minute. I don't know. I feel like it would have been cool if they did it through the settings where you can set if you want 30 seconds, 45 seconds, a minute, 15 seconds, that type of stuff. But unfortunately, Nintendo did not change this, but it might be one of those things that I guess not enough people use. I don't know. I was a little sad by this one though, if I'm being honest. And then Nintendo also showed all the brand new sound effects for the menu system when you're selecting if you want like the eShop, the game cards, the game share, game chat, that type of stuff. And yeah, there's a lot of new sounds to it, but there's no sound on the Nintendo Switch 2 UI. So disappointing to see that. I'm bummed that the eShop has no eShop music. I'm bummed that when you open up your Switch 2, there's no music being played. I'm very bummed by this. It's just so basic. Honestly, the Switch and the Switch 2, and this is probably gonna be a hot take, but I feel like it is the worst UI Nintendo has ever made, which is crazy to say because they did things like the Wii and the Wii U. You look at those UIs and then you go to the Switch, you're like, what went wrong? This is like the Switch UI is something that you would see in the 2000s era, if I'm being honest. But this is not a rant on the Switch UI video. I'm just speaking my mind right now. Let's go to another news story before I go about this for 20 minutes, like I did with the game chat feature on yesterday's video. All right, for our last story, it's another update regarding Square Enix and the Chrono Trigger situation. This has been quite a unique situation. If you guys aren't aware, the Chrono Trigger creator was at a convention and somehow the translation got messed up, but the translator said that the creator of Chrono Trigger was saying that a remake was in the works. And come to find out, it took a few days for this to get updated, but that was not what was said. They said that the translator was wrong, and that was kind of the end of the story. And then the creator was like, I'm kind of contemplating on doing a remake. And then Square just came out today saying that they are denying what the creator is saying about contemplating a new Square. Why do I keep wanting to say new Square? New Chrono Trigger remake. I don't know what's going on with this. This Chrono Trigger thing is a very interesting and different story. Don't know if we have any translators that are able to confirm or not what was actually said at that convention, because part of me thinks that the creator might have slipped up and continues to slip up after Square fixed the situation. I don't know. It's a crazy situation. We are in the anniversary still, I believe, of Chrono Trigger, so what's going on with that? It's very different. They need to do something for Chrono Trigger. At the very least, if they don't want to do an HD 2D release of this game, I feel like this game needs to be re-released, at least the original versions, on modern day consoles. This game gets talked about so much, and it's not really out there on modern consoles. Now, I know the Vita had it. You might have been able to play it on the PlayStation 3. Coleman might correct me on that. In terms of today's consoles, there's not really a way to play it. It might be on PC, actually, but in terms of modern gaming consoles, it's not on there, and I think that's a big problem considering how iconic people will talk about with this game, and how, honestly, it's crazy to see how well this game is talked about when it hasn't had an entry in so long. So I think Square needs to do something about that, and I feel like the simplest thing to do is just to re-release this game if they don't want to put the effort into HD 2D. But again, I'm not a business person. I'm not a game developer. Maybe what I'm saying does not make sense, and there's a reason why Square hasn't done it. It's just, to me, you have that HD 2D system that seems to be perfect for something like Chrono Trigger. And they've used it on stuff like Octopath, made new games such as Triangle Strategy, remake titles that, you know, didn't get over here to America, like Live Alive, and then you just have Chrono Trigger sitting there on the shelf just collecting dust, kind of like the Switch games over here. I'm joking. I know everyone wants to make the joke that I don't touch these Switch games and it's collecting dust, so I just decided to turn it into... You guys laughed, right? I don't know. Was that not funny? Coleman, did you laugh? Be honest. I feel like Coleman did probably laugh. He's just not going to admit it, because this is a joke that Coleman would have made. So if Coleman, you didn't laugh at what I just said, you're saying that you yourself is not funny. So we're just going to keep that out there.
Yeah, that's awesome, Max, but I'm kind of busy playing Shining in the Darkness right now. So, how do I put this? I don't really care. Yeah.
Guys, I have been talking for way too much. I want to hear what you guys have to say about everything we talked about. I'm sure there's going to be a great debate on the whole 4K upscaling, how the whole resolution looks. At the end of the day, it's still higher resolution at 1080p. It's more closer to, or right at 1444p. So that's probably going to be where it's at. And then maybe a little bit above that with the upscaling and the DLSS. I want to hear all of it in the comments down below. Make sure to backslash that subscribe button, like the video, check out the Twitter, check out the Instagram, Discord server, all that good stuff in the description below. Monado Marine membership, $5 a month. Helps out the channel tremendously. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace. Dude, I feel like I'm about to hiccup right now. So I had to like rush that outro. I probably should just end the recording before it ends on me hiccuping. But I feel pretty awesome pulling that off without hiccuping. Because, yeah, well, why did I tell you guys that? I don't know.